All right, we move now to question 3. I would like you to pause and then read the question and then maybe you write it out. Now, after doing this, so we proceed to solving this question. It says, here is 5.04 gram of H2SO4 in 500 cm cube. B is a solution of NaOH of an unknown concentration. So naturally, A is standard because the 5.04 grams in 500 cm cube of H2SO4 can be converted to a standard concentration of mole per dm cube or gram per dm cube. So A is standard, but B is not standard simply because we are not given the concentration of B. So looking at the question, it says calculate the conc of A in mole per dm cube, the conc of B in mole per dm cube, the conc of B in gram per dm cube, and then the mass of the salt that will be formed from 250 cm cube of NaOH. So looking at our equation, we have H2SO4 plus 2 NaOH, which will give us Na2SO4 plus 2H2O. From the equation, you can tell the balance mole ratio of acid to base. The coefficient of acid there is 1. The coefficient of the base there is 2. That means our mole ratio of acid to base is 1:2. Now, let's move to the next slide. Let us look at the solutions to this. So looking at what we have here, our conc of A in mole per dm cube, how do we get it? It's very easy for us to do this because we can use a formula that help us to do this. The formula is m over m dot m multiplied by 1000 over V. So my mass is 5.04 grams. My molar mass is 98 gram per mole. You can see how I deduce that. H2SO4. H is 1, S is 32, O is 16. So you multiply them by the amount of times they appear. That is 98 gram per mole. Now you must always show how you get the molar mass because this is one mark on its own. So what is conc of A in mole per dm cube? The mass is 5.04 divided by, what's the molar mass? 98 multiplied by 1000 divided by what volumes of the solution do we have here? 500 cm cube. So at the end, we get the conc of our A in mole per dm cube to be 0.103 mole per dm cube. Now, how do I get the conc of B in mole per dm cube? Because I was not given B in any form. So that means I have to use the neutralization factor of CAVA over CBVB equals to NA over NB. Now, it is a must that you show or you write out the mole ratio in your solution. NA from our equation is 1, NB is equals to 2. In this case, my titer value, the one that I'm using, which can be different from yours, is 12.20, and the one of VB is 25.00. That is volume of my pipette used. So from there, my CB is equal to CAVMB over VBNA. So looking at all of this, I will have 0.103 mole, 0.103 multiplied by 12.20 multiplied by 2 divided by 25.00 times 1. So my CB will be equals to 0.101 mole per dm cube. So that's the conc of B in mole per dm cube. So the conc of B in gram per dm cube is easy. We just do the molar conc times the molar mass. So I know that B is NaOH. So what's the molar mass of B? You can see the way it's being formed there. That's meant to be gram per mole, not dm cube actually. So obviously in this scenario, molar mass of B is 40 gram per mole. So how do I get the conc of B in gram per dm cube? That will be 0.10 multiplied by 40, which will give me 4.04 gram per dm cube. Alright, so now move to the next slide in the solution 2. Part 2 in the solution rather. So how do I get the mass of Na2 produced from 250 cm cube of A? It's very simple. I'll proceed. Say from the balanced equation, 2 moles of NaOH is giving me 1 mole of Na2SO4. That is what I have as the coefficient of the base to the salt from the balanced equation. So from the NaOH, they've given me the volume. The volume is 250 cm cube. I already know that the conc of A of NaOH in mole per dm cube is 0.101. So my N will be able to what? CV over 1000. I must convert that volume to mole. That's how I do it. CV over 1000. Multiply the volume by the concentration divided by 1000. That's 0.101 multiplied by 250 divided by 1000. So my number of mole in 250 cm cube of NaOH is what? 0.0253 mole. It's always paramount that I use 3SF in these situations. Now we proceed to the mole of salt. Now the mole of salt from the equation is 1. But we don't want to use mole because we are asked to find the mass of salt, not mole of salt. So let's convert that 1 mole of salt to the mass of the salt. We call that mass is equal to number of mole times molar mass, as you can see at the far right, at the right hand side. So molar mass of Na2SO4, that's 2 times 23 plus 32 plus 4 times 16. So that will give me 142. So my mass is 142 gram per mole. Molar mass for that, 142 gram per mole. So my mass hence will be number of mole times molar mass. So which will be 1 multiplied by 142. So my mass would give me 142 grams of Na2SO4. Now back to the relationship. From what I said earlier, 2 moles of NaOH would literally give me 1 mole of Na2SO4. Now if I convert what I was given, which is a 250 cm cube of NaOH, so it will be in terms of mole. So that means I need to relate it like this. If 2 moles of NaOH is giving me 142 grams of Na2SO4, then what will 0.0253 mole of NaOH, what would it give me? X gram. Because I got that 0.0253 from the question, because I need to convert that volume given in the question to mole. So in the end, I cross multiply. My 2s is 0.0253 multiplied by 142. So divide both sides by 2. My s will give me 1.80 grams of Na2SO4. That is the solution for question 3.